Hi, it's the Vibes. It's your boy, Dame, aka Nobody Knows. Coming at you with a real talks. Very pertinent and important real talks in which I feel needs to be discussed. Not only in America, but internationally, globally, across not only the African diaspora, but across the nation towards all peoples. As you see the title says, Why We Are So Divided. Why are we so divided as quote unquote Americans and as people internationally? And I want to just touch on a few key things that I'm seeing and patterns that I'm knowing from my experience, as well as the anecdotes of others, as well as the countless empirical data that suggests why our division is out there. And the first thing I want to say is the philosophy, the social philosophy, the nature of how America and the world, through these corporations, through these multi-billion-dollar institutions, have been ran. So when you talk about institutional racism, you talk about institutional capitalism, you're breeding classism and you're breeding second class citizenship in reference to another group of citizens. The reason why I think this is important to first note, because again, this is a construct. Institutions get created on the basis of an idea, and when an idea gets put into practice, it becomes and imprinted on the citizens that are practicing it. So I say that to say it isn't the white man, the white person that's creating racism. Yeah, several of those family members, they probably do have that pigmentation to where we can say, oh yeah, the white man is creating these institutions. But collectively, white American citizens, they're not creating this institution. They're just byproducts of the institution in which they pick up and they might fester hate or the notion of second class citizenship to people of color. And black, brown, whoever's in this system, institution of practice, will be a byproduct of that philosophy. So I see black folks practicing racism against other black folks. I see black folks with subordinate ideologies with other black folks. So it's not just because you're white. This isn't an inherent thing. This is a socially accepted philosophy that perpetuates racial, not just racial distinction, because we are different. I'm not going to knock that. By the way of our look should tell you that we're different in essence. It's like a lion and a tiger. They look different because they are different. That's how the universe works with energy, to let you know the distinction. The closer towards your likeness will be the closer towards your similarities. This is why language is better expressed towards your likeness. I can talk to a human better than I can talk to a lion because we look more similar. And if we go deeper down the rabbit hole, I can talk to a black person and have the relativity more similar than I can talk to a white person on average. So the likeness comes from the external features. So we are different. But our system, historically, if you just understand the concept of racism, thinking somebody is less than subhuman, subordinate, shouldn't be reproducing, shouldn't be given and allotted rights as the average human, just basic human rights, that is basing a distinction saying somebody is worse. So when you get to that realm of saying somebody is worse and somebody is unworthy, then it creates a division based on distinction that's unnecessary, because we don't have to dwindle or demean or undermine somebody because they're different. We all are different. That's just the nature of it. And then the grouping can be seen when it comes to Europeans and when it comes to certain regions of Asia opposed to other regions of Asia, or even nations if you want to individualize the distinction between nations. Even Ethiopia and Eritrea, next door neighbors, have subtle distinctions amongst each other. That's a natural process. Without undermining and demeaning the cultural distinctions can be embraced and accepted, and we can appreciate them and learn from one another's culture. But that's not how our system today, which is a global system now, it's not just institutional racism and classism in America, but it's institutional racism and classism in the globe. So when we knock down the connotations from how we draw distinctions to people today, then we can get a better respect for the distinctions in which we have, because I'm not denouncing that. But however, again, the social philosophy provokes institutional racism, institutional classism, and capitalism at a high rate. So when you think about those things, it causes a natural, or not a natural, an unnatural division, because we're interconnected. We're naturally connected. We naturally have empathy for people in which we don't know through that connectivity. Life forces which we do not know through that connectivity. You know what I'm saying? When you vibrate at a life affirming existence, you start seeing things as you see yourself. Damn, I don't want to smush this bee because that bee is living. That motherfucker probably got a family. Let me let the bee slide. Let me get the fly out of the house instead of killing the fly. Let me water the plant. Let me talk to the plant. Let me treat the plant with respect. This is my neighbor, though I don't know him. Let me say what's up to my neighbor. When you live on a lower vibration, you don't tend to nature as if it is yourself, so you treat it, you objectify it. You might step on a plant, you might not give a fuck about the plant. The fly is obsolete, it's in your house, only a hindrance, not a life force. Kill the fly. The human, I don't know him, so I'm not even going to give him the baseline of respect by saying what's up and saying hello to him. So it's a clear frequency thing when you see people who appreciate life and connect to it and people who don't. And we're at a vibration again where, again, they tell you animals ain't got no souls. So a part of our construct perpetuates beliefs like this. All of the beliefs in which our construct perpetuates is not life affirming, unfortunately. It's death affirming. Death to nature, death to your neighbor, survival of the fittest. That's a concept you all guys all accept. Survival of the fittest as if it's a competition. The connotations behind survival of the fittest breeds a competitive nature on America, and as a consequence of globalist ideology. So looking at somebody as if they're taking food from your plate is a disillusioned look, because in actuality we have enough resources to feed everyone. Select people hoard the resources, but nature is so plentiful that resources just keep toppling, coming, water keep flowing, grass keep growing. Nutrients and vitamins from these fruits and veggies keep growing in this life. Humans keep using their agency to perpetuate that life because we are naturally connected, loving. So you have farmers and you have people who are spreading the wealth, and the ultimate designer is keeping the wealth or making the wealth at a surplus due to the nature of just existence. The highest up is life affirming. That's eternal. So it's going to keep life going. Show, you lacking resource, let's keep the party going right here. You feel me? Let me make a flood in this desolate nature to grow the leaves and the plants. So I think the notion of either overpopulation or scarcity in resources, I think those are all both illusionary more so than reality, because we have enough space to fit everybody and we have enough resources to feed everybody. We just don't use them properly under the umbrella of capitalism. And again, that helps perpetuate our divide. So you have that causing a divide such as classism. And then you have people who look, again, you have racism and you have classism under this social philosophy that we live under now. So with racism and thinking one is subordinate, one is over angered, or one is inferior, you have people scoffing at one another, whether it's within the domestically or internationally. You have people looking at each other as if they're not reflective of them to a degree, because we're all humans with these social accepting philosophies. These animals, I'm sure the animals don't give a fuck about racism. But as humans, a large part of our divide is the acceptance of these constructed ideologies. Okay, well, damn, this person is black. That motherfucker might be aggressive. Or I'm Asian and they're white, and they might. I was taught that the white man is evil, and we're very different, and I shouldn't hang around them. Now, don't get it twisted. I think it's a natural thing to hang with your kind, quote unquote. I know some of you get triggered from your kind because of the connotations in which we hear the racist white man in the 60s in these films. Now, we don't take your kind. But let's look at the denotes. Your kind, I'm a specific archetype. I'm a melanated being. I'm a melanated male. That is a kind. Opposed to a lesser melanated female, a white woman. That is a kind. So naturally, as aggregate creatures, when we seek to unify and collectively get together, we will do it with people of our likeness. So I'm not denouncing that. People of our likeness, attaching to people like you is a natural thing. I think that's in all of nature. The lions kick it with the lions, tigers don't be kicking it with nobody. But like animals kick it with like animals. So the same, I would assume, would be for like humans, unless we live in ass backwards. And under this social philosophy of capitalism, racism, and classism, you might have Negroes trying to dissociate from Negroes. Another illusionary reality perpetuated that goes against the natural inclination to connect with your own self. So you have that, you have the racism aspect dividing us, and then the capitalism and the classism aspect. These two I'm going to touch on the most, and then I'm going to get to this story in which I got based on my anecdotes. So the classism, capitalism. Because capital is like the requisite to Western society, and as a consequence global society, we base people off the value of how they produce or how much material objects in which they have. You are deemed better if you have more. This is why we adhere a lot to celebrities and people with money, because under the umbrella of capitalism, it's a literal pyramid scheme. The masses at the bottom and the few at the top. Those at the top, the Bill Gates, we adhere to. Everybody want to be like Billy Gates. Not knowing his quote unquote acts of philanthropy suggests eugenics, suggests social Darwinism, suggests my people to be inferior and Europeans to be superior. Yes, we're different, but I ain't throwing out the superior, inferior. We're just different. Respect the distinctions. It's shit that they do well. It's shit that we do well. It's shit that we do better than them. It's shit that they do better than us. I respect the distinctions. But when you talk about classism and somebody like Billy Gates perpetuating that, he's looked up to because he got a lot of money. Anybody who got a lot of money, people go follow him now. People adhere to him. Oh, I want to be like Jeff Bezos. Not knowing his philanthropy might be tied to something that's unscrupulous. If you just do your own research. I'm not even saying these are facts. This is just from my observation of exploitation and my opinion on capitalism and exploiting the labor workers. Yeah, I only adhere to people who are doing things under the righteous umbrella. And stacking capital doesn't always necessarily mean you're doing what's right morally. Maybe what's right under the guise of capitalism. That's how a nigga can tell you it's not business. It's not personal, it's just business. I am a person in the business, though. If you are a person, your dealings are personal. So that's not if it's just business, that means it can't be not business. That's a contradiction. You can't have business with not business. That's a contradiction. But business with personal, those two things are not mutually exclusive. They can, and they always happen at the same time unless you got employees full of bots. But if you have human employees, then the personal aspect and the business aspect become interwoven. But under capitalism, we try to dissociate the two when it's not the case. You feel me? It is not the case. So that capitalistic viewpoint makes classism much easier and effortless. People scoff at the poor. People look down on the poor. Some people won't even look homeless people in the eyes. This is just from anecdotes. When I walk these streets, some people don't even acknowledge certain people because they think they're of a higher creed and class than them. Whether that be through color, old people, how many times in my life, in my reality, have white people looked at me like I wasn't there? Knowing they hold, again, the social philosophy of a Negro in America. Inferior, thug, criminal, ignorant, whatever they have, you can tell by their lack of acknowledgement. And the same goes for super rich folks. Not everybody's like this. There's exceptions to every rule. Let's get that clear. But you have super rich folks come from an affluent place and may have only perceived us on television, being ignorant, being vile, being angry, being uneducated, being illiterate, and all the other connotations that pertain to our lesser being. They walk by a black person or a poor person and they don't want to be around them. They might cross the street. They might clutch their purse. This is the social reality specifically of America, because it's not just empirical, it's anecdotal for me. I can't speak on how things run in other nations, but I do have anecdotes, which leads me to the next big reason why divide is so strong. Probably the biggest, because the social philosophy is the biggest. It's the title, but the next topic in which I'm going to talk about assists and affirms the title. You feel me? And that is the narrative. The media. These same few families controlling most all of the media. So again, like I said, it ain't the white man. Your white neighbor is the reason why racism exists. Everybody existing in this society is a byproduct. Plain and simple. We got to get to the root. And these few families who hoard all the resources create a society, and they govern the media and how they put out propaganda to perpetuate our ignorance. So the media, okay, again, every song, every rap, money, 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 get the dollar. Never fall in love with a broke nigga. I ain't never talked to a broke bitch. You ain't got no money, take your broke ass home. Like, this shit just coming off the top of my head. Like, so the influence through signaling, whether that's music, which is very, very, very seductive. You listening to music, you don't even know you getting programmed. It just feel good and rhythmic. Nice beat, nice T-Pain, you feel me? At the bartender, you feel me? Talking about drinking or some other low vibrational shit. Shout out to T-Pain, but I know the nature of the system. They make these artists put out low vibrational, get money, fuck bitches, and that divide based nature. That's what's accepted. So when a conscious rapper comes, they get shunned. The three stacks, the comments, they don't get perpetuated through the mass media as much. So, but back to the point of the narrative. Through music, through advertisements, got death-based food. So everything is divisive. Animal-based food. You're not as connected with the animal. It's your food. That's how you see it as service. Not saying the ancestors didn't eat off ritual every now and then, an animal. You know what I'm saying? But we raised this animal. This was part of our family. And now this death, this transition is a sacrifice. And it's out of love and respect in which we sacrifice our goat or our sheep properly, whichever animal in which they use. But again, the media, the way we eat, the music we play, and the commercials on the screen only help perpetuate our divide. An example of this would be how America has historically put the tag on Africans as poor, impoverished, flies around their face, for 5 cents feed a homeless African kid. For one, there's homelessness everywhere. America has a lot of homelessness. A lot of homelessness. We're not just collectively rich. We have a few people hoarding the resources, and a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of people are struggling for a means to eat daily. That's just the truth of the matter. Not a lot, to be truthful, but there are people. Some people are struggling. Some people suffer from homelessness in the thousands and the hundreds of thousands in America. So to perpetuate that with Africa is to give us a false notion and to create a divide, an unconscious divide between Black Americans and Africans. You might hear Black Americans, oh, Africans don't like us. And you might hear Africans, oh, those Americans, they don't like us. Because the narrative in the media is both sending y'all lying signals to perpetuate y'all's divide. They don't want the diaspora to connect with one another. To be like, oh shit, this African, that's me. This American, that's me. We just come from different worlds, different cultures. So, denouncing the media is going to be one of the keys to our collective based not thinking but also moving. And then that will come with gaining the experience. So another problem connected to the narrative in media, when you wean off the narrative in the media, you have to now go experience. You have to now go meet people from foreign lands to see whether or not this is true. You now have to travel outside of your box of reality. Some niggas ain't left their city to know what's outside of their city, to know what's reality outside of that small box that they've been relegated to. I myself, I haven't left the country. So I need to open my mind and get that level of knowledge of these lands in which I was told about. Because how I was told was ill professed by people who may have not been sincere in their professing. An example of this is my stories. I met this dude from Congo. I was in an Uber. Genius. And not genius for a black person or genius for my connotation of what African people are, because they don't profess African people as, well, in America they profess Africa is desolate and it ain't got shit, third world. So I think they discourage black people from going and seeing the truth. They don't necessarily profess ignorance and stupidity, but they do profess like uncivilized. So in a sense, they might profess ignorance and stupidity with that connotation, but for the most part, it's impoverished. So I didn't have the the implicit connotation of ignorance, but I did have the implicit connotation of poverty. But this brother from Congo showed me and revealed to me the plentiful nature of Congo and Africa, which I've studied after the mass indoctrination process of saying, oh, for 10 cents help this Ethiopian baby and all babies look like this. You have to, again, you have to rid the notion of the narrative and the media, and then you have to gain the experience. And that comes with traveling, and that comes with actually talking to these people. If you white and you got your perception of black people through hearsay or through television, it would best serve you to just go meet a black person. Go interact, go have communications, go talk with that person. This can build a foundation of truth, of validity, aside from media. A lot of people now, we ride off narratives. We feed off what was told, or I heard they was like this. How much validity did that got? How much soundness does that have? Because you heard that somebody was like this. There's no truth to what you heard. Go find out. Go figure out for yourself. Go seek the truth. Do extensive research. You know what I'm saying? And through that research, you're going to find common denominators. You feel me? People saying the same sentiments. Okay, God. Okay, you have anecdotes of experience, testimonies. And okay, and they have one base. They all say the root, same thing, similar. Okay, well, now let me find out for myself. And then you find out and see that what they said applies when you get there. Okay, well, this is more so truth than the narrative that they put out before us. Because an example of this would be like when I talked to the dude from Congo, he said, I didn't know. I did not know America was like this. Then 2 weeks later, I talked to a lady from Brazil who said the same thing. And as a caveat, every time I talk to people outside of America or North America, whether it be Brazil, somewhere in South America, African, or Bangladesh or India, they say the same thing. And this is why, again, capitalism and racism as a philosophy, it's rooted in American and Western society. So we have it the worst. We have it ingrained and embedded so much we don't even know we being racist in classes when we being racist in classes. Oh, you got an iPhone? You got a... be in classes right there. Oh, you drive a Ford? You drive a 2006 Nissan. You be in classes right there. Oh, you can't get a table at the club? You ain't got popping bottles? Classes right there. So it's insidious. It's so insidious we don't even know we doing it. But he told me when he was in Congo, he couldn't believe racism like that in that manner because you know why? In his experience, he never saw it. That's not how they perceive people of different colors. They base people more off their character and who they are. The same for the Brazilian lady. She said, I never saw people distinguishing people by the color of their skin so much and how much that meant and played on how we treat people in this society. I say that to say we have to really observe our biases. And we have to ask people outside of our biases to give us an inside look as to what's going on in America. Because America don't know how racist and classist they are. Especially if we only dealing with Americans. We only seeing as far as our bubble. But when we go out of that bubble or people from out of that bubble come into our bubble, they let us know, like, yeah, nah, this shit is... The dude from Congo said he ended up working at he wanted to get first-hand experience. Like I said, it was a very brilliant dude. Wanted to get first-hand experience, and through his experience, he got a job at a downtown LA, predominantly Asian. But again, the color don't matter in which he was working for. It's the construct in which was accepted in America. So this Asian corporation in which he worked for, or no, downtown LA, this demographic, they've been westernized. And they've had the notions of black people being subordinate and inferior. And immediately when he got the job, clients, customers coming in, looking at him like he don't belong. Looking at him like, nigga, what is you doing here? Go back to Africa, making a mockery of Africa. Africa is like a joke to the American philosophy. Oh, you from Africa? What you shoot darts like this? You ride on elephants? Like the notion, the narrative through the media is obscene. Only until Wakanda did they show brilliance, African brilliance. You feel me? But so yeah, in his telling me, it shows me why the divide is even thicker. But that African and African American, or that African and Brazilian connection, is more so a disconnect because they're getting fed information that is untrue. They may have not have the knowledge of the racism that's being faced in America. He told me, like, damn, at first we were like, damn, why don't the black folks in America like come back home? Come with us, come stick with us, come fight for their liberty and freedom if it is that bad. And he said he realized that through the indoctrination going both ways, you know what I'm saying, them being told that Africa is bad and also being told that they're not welcome and also being fed the lies and the distortion to keep them away from the continent and away from the actualizing of knowing they self. It was very hard under the racist construct to even understand that notion. But for him, it was hard to understand the notion of racism because in his reality and his environment, it just wasn't prevalent. Same as the lady who told me from Brazil. Same as everybody who come outside and come into this nation. Racism is more permeating. Classism is more so worldwide, and racism is too. But the root of racism comes in America, and all people who travel tell the same anecdotes. When they got to America, they never thought they would be looked at like they were subhuman coming from Brazil. Like we don't treat people of color like this. So yeah, but again, he couldn't understand racism because again, in his reality, it wasn't real. And that ties back into, again, the Brazil lady, the Congo lady, and all the people I meet. They say the same thing. They're happy over there. My people in Congo, oh, they're happy. They don't have that much, but they're happy. Brazil lady said the same thing verbatim. Oh yeah, you know what? They just happy over it, just to have family events. They celebrate over anything, loving, caring, just happy. And again, I think that shows America's division through capitalism, division of self. you don't even respect and appeal to yourself, let alone people who don't have a lot of things, because and this creates a conflict within yourself. You devalue yourself. You devalue life because you're measuring it only on a material realm. We are immaterial. We are spiritual beings, interconnected. So if you tap into that connected nature, then you will have a level of appreciation that will keep you at joy and at peace and connected and happy and vibing high. These other nations are experiencing that. These quote unquote third world nations, because they don't have a lot materially, so they say, because Africa resourcefully is the greatest resourceful land you can ever have in regards to minerals, in regards to animals, in regards to plant life, in regards to human variation. Africa, it gets no more plentiful than that. But in regards to material things, like having a lot of material items, aside from nature, these third world nations, they happen to be happier. Suicide rates you'll find way more steeper in the Western world. So not only do we have a division amongst people, but we have a division with our own inner self, creating a further divide unimaginable. If you divide it between yourself, how can you be connected to somebody else? If you divide it with that source within you. So they're just innumerably more happy in other nations because the gratitude, the appreciation for the little things in life, being able to spend time with your family, being able to go out and breathe some fresh air, being able to have food. Our social philosophy in America is gain, 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 gain. Get the money, get the money, get the money, get the money. You're either a capitalist or you're a hustler. Hustler is just an urban capitalist. Same thing. Gotta get the money. Go get the money. Go get productive. Go grind. I'm not saying you don't do those things, but do it for a deeper cause than just getting money. Because that game is never ending. You will never stop playing a game of getting money unless you have a strict meter. But that strict meter only comes when you have other values. Okay, well, I want to do A, B, and C for my family or for myself, so I need to obtain X amount of dollars. And once I get to X amount of dollars and obtain that, then this is no longer the goal. It's no longer the game. But don't just be, okay, I'm just stacking money. My whole life consists of stacking money, because that's going to create an internal divide. Your purpose wasn't to stack money innately, and it doesn't satiate or fulfill that internal energy because it's not a material player. Your internal energy is a immaterial player, so it needs true connection, true love. And that comes with seeking truth, your truth, which is purpose, and seeking connection with like energies of your own. You feed off good vibrations, whether that's food, something with the likeness of a life affirming consciousness. You eat some good food, it'll make you feel good. You have good conversation with somebody, that'll make you feel good. You even get a hug from some, that'll make you feel good. The Brazilian lady said, like, we're so affectionate. We hug, we kiss our friends, we say I love you. America, they don't do that. We not like that. A lot of people I know, black folks, melanated folks, we get uncomfortable when people be, I love you, bro. Yo, brother, I love you. And they're like, damn, like, what? You gay? No, I'm not. I gotta be gay to love you? Think about that. Think about that. And that type of shit plays heavy on our division. If we can't just shake hands and hug when we meet people, or even the respectful head nod. Black folks, we got a universal head nod. Because our core want to do it regardless. We just get indoctrinated and programmed into not doing what's innate to us. But in our core, we react connected. Hey, what's up? You see somebody you don't know, but you're connected to, walk past you, hey, what's up? That's why a baseline of respect is just acknowledgement. You walk past somebody, just say, hello, how you doing? How's it going? Much love. Hope you have a good day. It's just a baseline of respect through the connected nature. And then you have another form of divide, like something like nationalism, because we identify as African American, or as Brazil, or as Congolese, or as Kenyan, or as whatever, Aruban, or I don't know if I said that right. You from Aruba, or whatever native, you know what I'm saying, or Ethiopia, or you're Hawaiian, or Mexican, or all these labels say you're not that. And it's cool with having these labels, but it has to be acknowledged that these labels are a subset of the biggest label of human. all those labels fall under the umbrella of human. And then when you talk about melanated people specifically, because that's where I'm going to regard with my relativity, we suffer the same plight everywhere when you have this skin. Brazilians, the darker Brazilians, suffer worse than the lighter Brazilians through the race-based philosophy that's been perpetuated globally. The darker Congolese suffer worse than the lighter Congolese. The darker black Americans suffer worse than the lighter black Americans. It's not to say that the light ones don't suffer. I'm not saying that. Don't put words in my mouth. Listen to me. Listen to me and don't put words in my mouth. But it is to say that that racial ideology has been perpetuated vastly and globally, and darker people do get the short end of the stick. However, we have to realize that we are all one. We are all connected. You light skin, you dark skin, y'all don't have to be against. You from Brazil, you from America, but y'all both melanated beings. Again, I'm speaking relative, because our culture, black American and the African diaspora, is constantly under attack. So I speak first to them, then I speak unification for all. Because I'm with unification for all. Black, white, everybody getting together and being cool. I'm with unification. But everybody has to be fortified in their position. Everybody has to be self-loving and connected with their tribe first, before perpetuating and trying to offer or extend unity amongst others. We got to get our shit together first at home. So that nationalist outlook a lot of the times breeds a separatist outlook, you know what I'm saying? And not a good separatist outlook, a divisive, war-based, fictitious-based outlook. Again, like I said, we're different, but we don't have to use that difference for divide. We can use that difference for connection and growth, learning others' cultures and experiences and embracing them. But today's nationalism causes war. So that's just another form of division. And I had some shit. I was just reading autobiography of Malcolm X and how uh, he met people. He met people who told them about their experience in America in comparison. It sounded just like the guy I talked to from Congo. He said, uh, based on what I have heard of him, I had to believe him when he had told me that as long as he was on an African continent, he never thought in the terms of race, that he dealt with human beings, never noticing their color. And then he also said, Malcolm said back, he said, I told him, what you're telling me is that it isn't the American white man who is racist, but it's the American political, economic, and social atmosphere. So the philosophy in which we carry, again, we have to dissociate. Let's stop blaming the citizens and the people, but blame the philosophy. It's these conditions that perpetuate these people. Black, white, brown, looking at black and brown and people of color a certain way, or looking at people with money a certain way. This is what he said in the 60s. Hold on, I think I have another excerpt. Another excerpt that pertains to that. If my computer is going off during the video, forgive me. They're saying I got some viruses to check. Probably trying to get me to buy something in this capitalistic ass world. But I have another. It's another. If I can find it. Oh, bam, right here. Just an anecdote of him meeting an African person who came to America. He said, I remember how before one large audience, one cabinet minister from Black Africa, he knew more about worldwide current events than anyone else I've ever met, told of his occasionally traveling in the United States, North and South, deliberately not wearing his national dress, just recalling the indignities he had met as a black man seemed to expose some raw nerve in his highly educated, dignified official. Just like my homie from Congo who went to America and went to downtown LA and was looked at and treated how he's never been treated in Africa. People in Africa don't look at people like that. That basic human respect is a factor in other nations, except those who widely accept the Western notion to devalue people based on race and color. He said his eyes blazed in his passionate anger. His hands hacked the air. Why is the American black man so complacent about being trampled upon? Why doesn't the American black man fight to be a human being? And I'll tell you why. We are so immersed in this shit, and the media like to say racism ain't really institutional, and systemic racism ain't real, because they say, you feel me, bullshit token lines like end racism and be on every football field. Okay, well, you gotta end these institutions. Talking about end racism while the NFL is being institutionally racist. So you need to end the NFL. So they do token gestures to let you know racism exists because it's undeniable through empirical and anecdotal evidence, but they don't get to the root of the problem. But as far as why the black people don't fight to be a human being, they don't tell us how deep in the rabbit hole we are. They don't tell us how much we suffer from institutional and systemic racism. Not just black folks, but all folks. White folks would be able to vibe at a higher level if infractions weren't held upon people of color. Our connection would be better if media didn't distort the viewpoints and the realities of black and white. Everybody's shit would be better if everybody had more autonomy and freedom as citizens. But the government will make sure you stupid so you don't gain that autonomy, so you keep professing their narratives and keep dividing yourselves among citizens. Because if citizens are united, then what need does the government have? Government is basically to babysitters. But if citizens are united, we create our own rules and we abide by them to the point where we don't need a government. Maybe a select few righteous individuals counsel to assist the nation, but we don't need a governing body telling us what to do, telling us how to think, telling us how to live. He said, I reflected many, many times to myself how the American Negro has been entirely brainwashed from ever seeing or thinking of himself, as he should, as a part of the non-white peoples of the world. The American Negro has no conception of the hundreds of millions of other non-whites concerned for him. He has no conception of their feeling of brotherhood for and with him. So we don't know that our African brothers out there want us to come home, have love for us, and are connected. And they largely don't know the reality in which we go through. Because if they're dealing with loving black people in their nations, and even loving white people and loving people of other colors because racism isn't as prevalent, then how could they know the reality of what we're going through? The media show ain't gonna tell them. The Congo dude told me the media only show us like 50 Cent and entertainers, black people with money, black people getting it, or robbers and killers in the movies. So it's either an ill perception or it's a perception of a successful black person. So they're not getting the actual systemic and institutional racism of America until they come into their witness. And that's the same for us. We need to go over there and we need to witness the loving nature, the connected nature, the trustful nature. It's not divisive. In America, especially black America, we don't trust nobody. We don't trust nothing. And it's not to say it's not warranted due to the nature of the system being distrustful, but when you have love and you have true connection and collectivism, that nature of love is better received. Malcolm said when he went there, he was damn near uncomfortable by the loving gestures. Like, damn, is there an ulterior motive behind this love and gesture? But it's not. Just because I want you to be good too, bro. And that's why I do videos like that, because that's what I'm chasing. Just being more connected to each other, and that collectivist viewpoint becoming a reality for us, so we can feel that love within ourselves, so we can vibrate at a higher level of consciousness, so we won't be stagnated by this divide and this system that keeps us on a lower vibration so they can govern us. You feel me? And with that being said, you feel me, I shall close on those notes, but I will say again, be mindful of the narrative, the relative narrative, because you're in America. Be mindful of the American narrative that they have on who you are, how this world is ran, how Africans are, how melanated people across the world are living. Be mindful that they might not be telling the truth. If somebody told you a lie once, you should at least be mindful that they could lie. They have the potential to lie to you again. We've all known the media has lied to us at least once. So you should always be aware that they have the potential to lie to you again. And then knowing that, you might do research when they perpetuate what they perpetuate, or you might go out there and experience it. That leads to one of my last final points of go out there and talk to different people. We are different. Talk to the white person about their reality. White person, talk to the black person about their reality. African American, talk to the Congolese, the Ethiopian person about their reality. The Brazilian person about their reality. The Portuguese person about their reality. And you'll come to find out that we have distinctions, cultural distinctions, but we are a lot alike as human beings. And with that being said, man, it's your boy Dame. The ultimate reason why we are so divided is because us as a people accept the social philosophy of institutional racism, classism, and capitalism. And when you think about capitalism, it's exploitation of labor. How can I get the mass production for the least amount of, without allotting the least amount of resources? And that comes through labor exploitation. I get a human, pay them a little bit to produce a lot. There's people in sweatshops and factories producing Nike and all this shit that we sell at a high rate, but they get cents on a dollar for it. That's exploitation. That creates a division, a class division. And then we look down with classism. You got the capitalism, and now you got classism. Oh, the rich people. Kings always been rich and had look up to rich, look down on poor. That creates the scoffing at a person who ain't got designer clothes on. Motherfucking Team Jordans sometimes look just like Jordans, but just because they Team Jordans, niggas like, oh, he got on Team Jordans. He ain't, nope. Well, I don't accept it. Classism, subtle. So yeah, we denounce the media, we denounce these social philosophies, and we go out there and experience for ourselves. And naturally, with discernment, we will understand better the nature of reality, and we will understand that we're connected, and we will understand that division is just not necessary and it's silly for our existence. You should want to exist connected to the universe. You shouldn't want to exist divided to the universe unless you're not naturally of the universe. And with that being said, it's your boy Dame. Much love. Highest of vibes. Tap in with me whenever. And go out there and connect. Go out there and connect. Go out there and collect the connections. No more divide. The division is over. You feel me? It's the middleman creating a division. The middleman, them small families who obtain the resources and colonize the world and who perpetuate media rhetoric, not truth, propagandize shit to make you divided. Those are the people throwing the rocks and hiding their hands. Shout out and resting in the cosmos, Nipsey Hussle. That's where I heard the phrase from. They throw the rocks and hide their hands. So they create a divide, and then now you have two forces, maybe Ethiopia and Eritrea, or black and brown in America, and now they're warring. But these are the people who created the war, the people who threw the rocks and left. So now two people are fighting who are more collective and connected than they know it, because they've accepted a pretense that this is my enemy. Got Crips and Bloods who look just alike, talk just alike, same walk, same swagger, at odds with each other, and it takes away from the person who threw the rock. The government created these institutions. Crippin was created to establish a defense against governing bodies infringing on black people in the hood. So it shouldn't get silly to us looking at each other as enemies, but we should always remain focused on who's throwing their rock and hiding their hands. And that comes with watching the media and their narratives, and that comes with experiencing more and more of your people and people outside, citizens outside, to get the better perspective. Feel me? When that being said, again, you feel me? I know I ramble. That being said, much love to everybody. Highest of vibes. This was the Real Talks. Why do y'all think we divided? Let me know. Tap in. Much love to everybody. Peace.